Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a very exciting video of my favorite reads of the year so far. Now this one was very hard to do. I basically just picked books that I had remembered having such a memorable reading experience for, and books that blew me away. But before we get into the video, I am so excited about today's sponsor, which is EveryPlate. I live with my sister, so it's really hard to cook for just two people, and one of my favorite features of EveryPlate is that they have the option of getting a meal kit for two, and it is so cheap and affordable. EveryPlate is 25% cheaper than grocery shopping, and it's such a great value to have week after week in your home and in planning your meals. My sister and I often rely on the same meals over and over again, and that kind of gets to be boring. And so I love EveryPlate and the variety of meals that they offer. They always have a ton of different options to choose from, and you can please any type of eater. So I had a package come with 3 different meals, and we decided to make the chicken meal. And I am not someone who is a great cook. I can cook fine, but I'm always worried about ruining the meal, about making the chicken too dry, about burning something, and so I also take a long time making the meals, and EveryPlate has directions that are so easy to follow, and it doesn't take that long. So the other night I made my sister and I this chicken recipe with the most delicious garlic rice that I have ever had. It was so easy to follow the recipe, and I had so much fun cooking with my sister. I called in for her to help chopping a little bit while I was doing other things. When you pick out your meals, EveryPlate allows you to swap out proteins and sides or add a protein to the veggie dishes every week. You can pick whatever you'd like. It also has a huge variety. There's 26 tasty and affordable recipes that literally change every week. So there's 15-minute or less dinners, there's oven-free recipes, and the options are endless. There are also even more options to add to your order with 22 sides, lunches, snacks, and desserts, and more. So I really love a meal service company that offers so many options at such an affordable price. So I love using them. They also allow you to take less trips to the grocery store, with everything was listed so nicely on the ingredient card. They told you exactly how many you had to use and exactly what was in your order, with also exact directions on what to refrigerate, because I'm always like, does this need to go in the fridge or not? It tells you on the card itself, so I really love that. It makes you spend less time at the grocery store and less time in the kitchen and enjoying your summer days. It also gives you some extra money to put towards some fun summer plans. So I made this meal with my sister and had so much fun cooking it, and it was delicious. I was so worried about the chicken because I've had so much bad chicken in my life where I don't cook it well. It was so juicy and so tender and perfectly cooked. Not to pat myself on the back, but I did such a good job on this meal and I loved it. It was so good. I ate everything off my plate. My sister loved it. She ate everything off her plate. It was delicious, and I am so excited to make my meal tonight, which is going to be the burger meal. I already talked to my sister about it. She's heading to work, and when she gets home, she will have a delicious meal prepared for her by me because it's so easy for me to follow, and I feel so confident in the kitchen when I use EveryPlate. You can get $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering the code 49piece. Again, that is 49piece. There are so many meal kits to choose from out there, and I think that EveryPlate offers such an affordable price that's so much cheaper than everything out on the market, and I think they are so reliable, have such a good variety, and I'm obsessed with them. So check out EveryPlate. Again, my code is 49piece. Check out their website and start having delicious meals delivered to your door so you have more time to read. And a huge thank you again to EveryPlate for sponsoring this video. Okay, so I have a list of books here, and I just literally was pulling them from my list of books I've read, and I have no idea what order they can fall under, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about them. So the first one is actually a book that I got to read for my book club I do with my Patreon. I had QB Tyler on, and this was the most perfect book to read with her because she loves this series and loves this author, and this author intimidates me so much because she is just like perfection. The way she writes is so beautiful. She is so smart, and I am just like, you are just like on another tier of being an author, and that is Simone. I am so impressed with everything she does. She's amazing. I did not get to see her at Book Bonanza because I was too nervous to go up to her, like not in the context of the book signing, because I saw her like outside in the lobby, and I was like, but I'm too nervous because this book is so beautiful. This one's an romance. All of these are forbidden taboo romances, and this one is a monk romance. This is also a second chance romance, and second chance and friends to lovers are like my 2 favorite things of all time, so there's quite a bit of them on this list. The hero, who is a monk, something really tragic happened in his life, and so he turned to the life of living as a monk to find peace and comfort in such a dark time in his life. And the other hero is a journalist, and he is staying with the monks in order to write a piece about monks who make beer and brew beer, and and they end up having to go on a road trip together, and it is so emotionally, like, if a book makes me cry, it's going to be on my list because books so rarely make me cry. I think there's only 2 others on this list. It might even be only 1 that actually made me cry, and I got so emotional and so emotionally invested in these characters, and I was obsessed. So absolutely my favorite in the series. I feel like this is the one I see talked about the least in this series, but it is my favorite. I am obsessed with this, one of my favorites of all time now, and Simone is just amazing, and I'm obsessed with this book and I love it so much. Then there's one that was a surprise. It was my second time reading from this author, but I'd only read a novella, and that is Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This one's book 2 in the series, and I read this for a video, reading booktube's favorite books of 2022. This is a friends to lovers romance, and it was just like a warm hug. So I feel like Hannah Bonham Young kind of falls in the category of like B.K. Borson and Tara DeWitt, where their books are just so cozy and so relatable, and I love them. The heroine is at just like a weird part in her life where all of her friends are settling down and getting married, and she like doesn't know what she wants to do, so she buys a bus. And she's gonna renovate this bus to live in, and everybody in her life is like, what the heck are you doing? But her best friend is like, cool, I'll help. And so he helps renovate this bus, and he's really been pining for her the whole time, and I was obsessed with their romance. They go to a wedding together, they road trip together, lots of forced proximity, and I just love their relationship, and I love the heroine. I just love how the emotions were portrayed in here and how they are just so relatable and at raw parts in their lives and are falling in love, and I love that. And the hero is so cute too. There were some cute moments in here that I just like had me grinning. This just was so cute and cozy, and I was obsessed, so it's one of my favorites. Then we have Little Eyes by Helena Hunting. I don't typically love new adult anymore. I really enjoy reading it, but it's never like on my favorites list. This one was so good. I think it's because there was a little bit of romantic suspense in the beginning. The heroine and hero grew up as best friends, and she is kidnapped, not for very long. It's maybe like an hour she was missing at this carnival, and she is very traumatized from this experience, and everybody involved is very traumatized. Like her brother's very traumatized, her parents are, and our hero is, because he lost her, and they end up really bonding emotionally over this and kind of using each other as a crutch, and their parents are like, we need them to be stable on their own, so they really pull them apart. And something happens, I think in her senior year of high school, where he pretty much like breaks her heart and really crushes her, and so she hates him. Now she's in college and he's in college, but he's best friends with her brother, and they're all athletes. He's a hockey player, and she is living at her brother's house, and they are around each other all the time, and she is not afraid to flaunt what she has and show him what he's missing, and it kind of becomes this push and pull game, and then she makes him grovel for what he did to her, and I was obsessed. I love this. It was very angsty. Helena Hunting, I'd only read her Helena Hunting books, and they're very rom-com. Her H Hunting is all the angst I need, and I'm obsessed with them. I read book 2, Bittersweet Heart. Loved that book as well. Not on my favorite. It missed out on my favorites of the year, but I gave that 5 stars too. I loved it, and I'm dying for book 3, which comes out in August. I cannot wait, but this one for sure is a favorite. I will say, my Patreon book club, we have some really good picks, because the next one was my most recent pick with Nikki Castle, and that is The Rest of the Story by Tal Bauer. This book made me cry. This book is so emotional and so great for anybody who's ever been an athlete. In this one, it is about a hockey team that's definitely the underdogs. They're literally the worst of the teams in the league, and our hero is traded to them, and he's like, well, there goes my career. It's literally like a death sentence for anybody's career. And so he goes to the team and realizes something concerning is happening, and he steps in and basically builds them from the ground up, kicks out the toxic person, and is trying to just give them a family. And it becomes like found family in a sports romance, which I loved. And he falls for one of the rookies, who's kind of like the leader of the rookies because he's older. He went to college first and graduated, as opposed to just going right out of high school. So it was really good, and I loved the relationships everyone formed with one another, and the romance was so sweet and kind of slow burn, and I really loved it because the one is known as being a player and the other one isn't, and they don't want to break each other's hearts, and it's so good. Oh my gosh. And I cried when things were revealed, and it's just so emotionally draining reading this book, but like in the best way possible. So I love this, and I can't wait to read more from this author. Then I have this one, which I'm pretty sure book 1 ended up on my favorites of the year last year, but it is going to be Daisy Hates. This book ripped my heart out. So this was actually my second time trying to read it. I started it last year, and it has a very slow beginning, and I never got past page like 100. This is so toxic and messy. We have cheating, we have Daisy and Christian who are hooking up, but they're both in love with other people, but then they start falling in love with each other. So things get messy very quickly. There are people who don't want to let people in because they don't want to get hurt. Daisy especially does things that really hurt people, especially herself, because she just wants to feel loved. So she will do not great things, and you feel so much for her, and you're like, stop doing this to yourself, but you can't tell her that. She has to learn it on her own, and it gets so emotional and so messy in the best way possible. And I love the Mafia aspect in here. Julian kind of works for bad people, does some bad things, and there's like some things that are going on. And Daisy also could possibly have a relationship with like 3 other people. And tell me why I was rooting for all 3 of them. I was like, but I like him. Oh, and I really like him, but like, what about him? I love this one. I could not put it down the second time I read it, and I'm obsessed with this world, and of course it's a favorite. Then a surprise to me is definitely Blame It on the Tequila by Fiona Cole. I did a read along of this series with Tori. They were so good. So this one is a second chance. He became a huge rock star, and she was like kind of left behind. Something happened, and now she has a really big social media platform, and the hero is in a famous band, and so she actually helped write some of their songs, and she is connecting with them with her social media to go on tour with them, and they fall back in love. Oh, and I did not mention though, when they fell in love in the past, they were step siblings. So it was very forbidden. Their parents have broken up now, so they're not step siblings anymore, but I love the angst in this one. It was so fun. I love a good rock star romance. This one knocked it out of the park for me, and I loved it so much, and it's definitely very steamy. Like, Fiona Cole knows how to write her spice, and I loved it. Then we have one I'm sure I'm gonna see on a ton of people's lists, and that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This one, I love when I have a fantasy on my top of the year, because if it's on the top of the year, it's a fantasy that I become wholly immersed and obsessed with. This one is a dragon rider romance where they are in school to become dragon riders, and the hero is someone who she hates and he hates her for different political reasons and reasons in their past for people who they've lost, and she thinks from the start like he's out to kill her, and it's kind of a love triangle, but you know, like the back of the book tells you who the actual love interest is. So she does have a friend who is also there that's been her friend since childhood, and he gets a little possessive, but she's like, back off. And you can really tell the difference between them and how they treat her, but she is training to be a dragon rider, and she needs to make it through like the courses and then actually have a dragon who wants to pair with her, to match with her, because it's up to the dragons. And lots of people die. I love the action in here. I love everything about this book. I loved the world building. I loved the relationships. I love the romance. It's so good, and I highly recommend reading it. And she has a disability where she gets hurt very easily and isn't as strong as everybody else, but that doesn't stop her from doing things, and I loved it so much. I've already pre-ordered the Waterstones edition of book 2, and I'm dying for book 2 to come out. It's November. We don't have to wait long. I could not choose between the next two, so I'm just gonna include both of them. We have Powerless and Reckless. Powerless is a hockey player friends to lovers romance that just touched me. I love a good friends to lovers romance. I know this is kind of the least favorite. I feel like this one and book 1 of the series are not people's favorites, but I was obsessed with this. She ran away from her wedding in the beginning because she figured out horrible things about her fiance, and the hero was there pretty much to save her, and they go on a lot of road trips together, and it's just a very cute romance. I really love this one. But then also the new one, Theo. I love Jasper, don't get me wrong. I love Jasper, but Theo takes the cake. He is my favorite hero of the series so far. This one is a surprise pregnancy / kind of secret baby, and when Theo learns that he's a dad, I lost it. I love him so much. I love how much he cares for Winter. Winter is definitely a character with a lot of baggage and a lot of opinions from readers because of what we saw her. Her sister had the first book, and we get to see her dealing with her choices and how people see her, and Theo is very protective of her, and it's Grump Sunshine, where he is the sunshine and she is the grump, and he is a bull rider, and I loved everything about it. I think this one's my favorite of the series, but I also just really love Powerless too. Then I have Bittersweet Memories by Katerina Mora. I forgot to grab this one down from up on my shelves, but this one is a Amnesia romance, and it is so good. They fall in love kind of throughout a couple years, and she's volunteering at a homeless shelter, and he is living there, and then she ends up having to live in the shelter with him, and they're ready to like start lives together, and she loses her memory, and he literally like loses her. He has no idea where she went. She doesn't know to track him down because she doesn't know who he is, and so he starts this whole entire tech company to like help find people to find her, and he becomes a billionaire, and it's a billionaire romance, and it is so good. I love a good Amnesia romance, and this one, it did everything I wanted it to and more. It was angsty. She was dating someone that he knew, that caused a little bit of tension, but I loved it so much. So if you like Amnesia, check this one out. Then I have One Touch by Lena Hendricks. This one is one just because I've read it really recently and it's still, I think about it, I love this book. This one is a hate to love, ex's brother, brother's best friend, home renovation romance. So she's living in her aunt's house and she was used to being just kind of like a pushover with her boyfriend, figures out he was cheating on her like the whole time, and so she's devastated, and now she is living with her aunt, doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life, and they're renovating her house. She is confident they can do it themselves, but the aunt was like no, and so they hire her brother's best friend, who is her ex's older brother, to do the renovations, and she is all up in his face the whole time, just really not wanting to be a pushover anymore and standing up to him. But she's also documenting everything on social media and getting a really large following, and they start hanging out a lot, and they have to go on a road trip at one point, and I love their connection. This one was so much fun. I listened to the audiobook. It was so good. Highly recommend. And the last book I have is Something Wild and Wonderful by Anita Kelly. This one I cried in. It is an MM romance where they hike the Pacific Coast Trail together. Both of them are going through very different things in their lives that make them want to stop and pause life and just have time to themselves. One of them had come out to their family who was very religious and basically got cut off from the family. The other one has just been going through a lot of bad relationships, and they meet on the trail and they have a very emotional connection and fall in love. And I loved everything about this. The characters are ones you just want to like put in your pocket and protect from literally everything in the world, and I just love them and their relationship and their connection, and things get really deep emotionally at the end, and it made me cry, the things they went through and the things they had to work through and admit to each other, and it was just amazing. I read it in one day. I couldn't put it down. I was obsessed. So this one definitely is a new favorite of mine. And those are my favorite books of the year so far. Let me know if you've read any of these or what your top favorite book of the year is, so I know what to read next. I would love to hear. And thank you so much to EveryPlate for sponsoring this video. As a reminder, check out everyplate.com and use my code 49piece to get $1.49 per meal on your first order, which is an amazing deal. Don't miss out on this deal. Don't miss out on this opportunity to try out a really great meal service that even I can use successfully and enjoy a delicious dinner with. So check out EveryPlate. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.